Hey everybody, it is still November 17th, 2021. Is it Wednesday? It's Wednesday, yeah. I just looked earlier, I couldn't keep that in my head. So anyway, it is 11:06 p.m. and I just got out of the shower after making a nice dinner. I had some, as you may have seen in the video before this, I had some homemade beans in the pressure cooker with some chicken sausage, Brussels sprouts, a nice mixed green salad with spinach and arugula and balsamic vinaigrette, a tall glass of milk, and some ice water. So it was really good. The beans, honestly, didn't come out as good this time as some other times, but it was good enough. I was conscious of the fact that at least I had a nutritious meal. Like, I was glad about, you know what I mean? Glad about that, at least. And it was good enough. It was fine. But it wasn't like, oh, wow, this is a smashing success or anything like that. It was just like, all right, yeah, this is good. So, so now here we are for Psalm 4 night prayer, and maybe another psalm thrown in for good measure. When I call, answer me, O God of justice. From anguish you released me. Have mercy and hear me. You rebels, how long will your hearts be closed? Will you love what is futile and seek what is false? It is the Lord who grants favors to those who are merciful. The Lord hears me whenever I call. Tremble, do not sin. Ponder on your bed and be still. Make justice your sacrifice and trust in the Lord. What can bring us happiness, many say? Lift up the light of your face on us, O Lord. You have put into my heart a greater joy than they have from abundance of corn and new wine. I will lie down in peace, and sleep comes at once. For you alone, Lord, make me dwell in safety. Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and will be forever. Amen. No, I was just thinking about, during this prayer, the Lord put in my head the story that I shared with a few people the other day through Facebook Messenger about a time when I began having, what do you want me to say, Lord? Come on, now he's switching the words up on me. I'm like, and now he's worried about me being embarrassed about saying it, even though I wasn't embarrassed the other day, and I wasn't embarrassed, until like this minute. Now it's embarrassing. Well, I began hearing voices, okay, and I got really, really, really paranoid about because of these voices, right? And having all these, like, I don't know how to describe them, sensations, right? But see, here's the thing. I mean, I've never had any problem like psychotic break with reality before. Anyway, and I thought I had a microchip in my head, and a transmitter in my tooth, and all this other kinds of stuff. And it got me really angry, and very, very, very early on, though. Because you kind of max out on anger. Have you ever tried to like use brute force to solve something, and you realize you don't have enough to do it? And so when that happens, you kind of like break and go, wait a minute. Kind of like that. You've seen that image of somebody like a giant holding back with one hand, like someone else that's like, and he just holds him there until like he's done, sort of a thing. That's kind of the way it felt. And so then I picked up the Bible, and I read, and I forget which chapter. Pastor Justin should know this off the top of his head, but he doesn't right now. Come on, Lord, bring it to me. Do not return evil for evil, but do what is good. But do what is good in the sight of all. I think that's not it. It's close, but it's not exactly it. Anyway, so I began to pray. And I began to look toward God and who I knew Jesus to be, right? And this was in November 2009. This all began. This all started in 2009. And by October 2010, I had got, life had balanced out for me by then a little bit. Like I still knew there was something going on, and I was still investigating it. But like I had a normal home, more about normal home life with Bob again and stuff like that because I was praying. You know what I mean? Because I looked toward religion instead of trying to be this like create. And now immediate thing that I did was this. Okay, funny thing. Like when this first happened, I'm like after a while. Now it didn't hit as soon as the voices did, but like after a while, when I realized like I was going to take another route, I was like, okay, I got to get off the drugs to make sure that, you know what I mean? Just to have that as a starting point. You know what I mean? Now, I mean, that didn't last too long at all. And I was drinking, it varied. Sometimes I would drink a lot, sometimes I would not. But anyway, so during this like sobriety time, like I was drinking, and I call that sobriety time because if you're an addict like me, sometimes you don't get both off for very long. When I was drinking, I was in I went to cosmetology school. I went back to cosmetology school and I graduated cosmetology school. Because I went there the first time and I dropped out when I was like 18 and stuff, So I thought it would be good. I didn't know if I was going to be a hairdresser, but I thought, it'd be good for me to kind of be in an environment again instead of like, because for years I was just like hanging out with my drug friends getting high and it was like, you know what I mean? Like you have a life that like there's no up, no down. It's just kind of like wah, 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 wah. And I thought the balance would be very good for me. And it was. I had a great time. I really did. And I got back involved in church during that time. And anyway, so I sent the story to a few people. The point is, actually tonight is not the story, it's who I sent it to. And one of them was the prior at St. Gregory's Abbey, my friend the prior, and I just kind of wondered how he reacted to it, however he did is God's will, but it certainly probably surprised him because it's funny because I thought about it and I went to go see him a mere 2 years after this had happened. And because I said to him, this was many years ago, and when I sent that to him and said that, I was thinking more in terms of like the mental space. You know what I mean? I'm not saying I thought, this was only 2 years ago, but I didn't. I just said, the Lord had me say it was many years ago. And then I thought about it later and I thought, well, no, it was only like 2 years before that. But he's a guy I respect a lot, and I feel like I have, other than that prior, I feel like I have a lot in common with him. So the Lord just put that in my mind there. This is a very long story. I got to tell you, this is a very long story. And it took from 2009 all the way till 2017 for me to realize it was spiritual, after eliminating all the other possibilities and having several things happen that not only eliminated the physical possibilities, but confirmed it was indeed something that could not be responsible on the earth. You know what I mean? That could not be, like, you know what I mean? Things happened to me that were not explainable by, it was obvious that, like, okay, that could not have had, this couldn't have been known by, if it was some, like, I don't know, if it was some organization somewhere, that was controlling a microchip in my brain, they couldn't have done this sort of a thing. You know what I mean? So over the years too, let's say you get patient and you're like, okay, because I was living a mostly normal, I went to cosmetology school and graduated while this was going on, So you get to a point where it's not consuming you every second of every day, but you kind of know what's going on, and you also know I'm going to be I'm all right. But the Lord let me know that, you know what I mean? So in 2017, okay, when I became homeless, then around that time I don't remember how, and the Lord did not even let me remember. It was after I moved in here that I became aware that it was God. I couldn't remember that this morning. I told my dad, I was like, around then, it was like around the time I moved in here that I actually knew it was God. See, I've been so comfortable with this for such a long time now. We're talking a long time, November 2009 to now. You know what I mean? So so in 2017, I became aware it was spiritual, and so I thought it was the devil. I was like, well, okay, because it can't be God, because some of these things were happening to me. Like, I was like that, a lot of them had to do with preventing me from carrying out my ministry or going to church. Now, it wasn't my ministry back then, but I knew I had a call to ministry. So you know what I mean? So whatever I was doing in service of that, I'm going to call it my ministry, okay? So even if it's training or discernment or whatever. And so I figured, and a lot of these things were preventing me from doing that. You know what I mean? Like clear. Like, now, if you don't know me from Adam, you just walked up and watched this, you're not going to believe it, and I don't blame you. You would have to be me or you in this situation to see, like, holy shit, this is not, you know what I mean? This is what, to have that take on it, I'm telling you. And so, so I guess I shouldn't try to convince you too hard, even though I'm a human being like anyone else. I do not like looking nuts to people. I don't care, but this, I'm also, I'm so confident about my relationship with God. I know I'm going to look nuts to some people, so be it at the same time, But, so I went to go have an exorcism. Now, did I have an actual exorcism? No. Because what they do, they don't tell you this in the movies, but when you go for an exorcism, they have like what are called, I think they're called deliverances. They're like pre-exorcism. Kind of like when you go to, I guess, to calculus, or you have pre-calculus or something like that. I don't know because I've never taken calculus. That's what first came to mind right now. I don't know why. You have like pre-exorcism. So I did all that, and when I ended up, I remember the Lord actually too was kind of like, it's hard to describe. I'm not going to try to do it right now, and I don't think He wants me to because He's not letting me articulate it. I can already tell the words are not just naturally coming to me. But so we had like the big, where I had to go down to like Santa Clara or something like that. I remember I drove down there. I think it was Santa Clara. I don't know. That would be a different diocese, though. I feel like. Whatever it was, I think it was within the bounds of the Archdiocese of San Francisco. Because anyway, so Father Vito, who was the diocesan exorcist, I don't know if he still is. He was a couple of years ago. He probably still is because they don't train a lot of people for exorcism here. They do in Italy. Italy, it's a big thing there. I read in a book on the subject, actually. So anyway, but he finished that, and he said, "I'm not seeing anything." You know what I mean? I'm not seeing anything there. So there's nothing there. And I felt really kind of like screwed over by the church a little bit. I wasn't bitter about them, but I was just like, damn it, they weren't able to, because I know I've got something. And I did. It was the Lord, you know what I mean? I did, but at that time I was like, and so no wonder nothing came out. No wonder nothing at all came out because there wasn't any evil in there. There was no devil in there or whatever. And, and then, now the weird thing is that these things were also helping these things. This force that manifested itself in physical sensation. I say voices, but you have to understand that the voice could also create the feelings of fear, of anxiety, of peace, of all the feelings that we have, because God is able to do that and does that. When you go to church and they say like, I can see Christ in you, like that's a literal thing. That's a literal thing. When you look in my eyes right now, it is God talking to you. And when you look in my eyes and talk to me, that is God talking to me. It's like a God having a conversation with himself, herself, itself, whatever you want to call it. It really is that way. But God doesn't want us to see it that way all the time, though. And that's why we have the experience of, you know what I mean? We don't. If God wanted us to see it like that, we would all the time. But he sees differently. If I say he because I'm used to that, because that's, you know what I mean? But that does not mean, just understand that I don't mean, he with the certainty that, that I'm a guy right now. You think. Maybe I'm a bearded lady. I don't know. Anyway, so, but no, that's a real thing. That really is a real thing. And I know that probably more, forgive me for being presumptuous, more than maybe most people do because of my experiences. And I still don't remember it every second of every day. Like, believe me, it is still, it's still a challenge. You know what I mean? I go over to Walgreens, and sometimes I don't lose my temper at them generally. It has happened. Once since I moved in here, they screwed me over on something. Once, and this woman did it intentionally. I know she did it intentionally, and it pissed me off, And so I like said something, and I walked out the door, and I threw my arm up, and I swore or something like that, But so like, you know what I mean? Like, God, it's gonna happen. It's all right, So anyway. I didn't even intend to get into this tonight. I swear, I sat down. I said we're going to do the Psalm 4, and that's that. Or maybe another psalm. And here's a psalm right here, in a way. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to make a cup of tea. Maybe take a Benadryl. And go to bed soon here, all right? So, I don't know what I'm going to call this video. I can't just call it Psalm 4 because I want to be able to find it later. And I think, I want to also show people it's a different video than Psalm 4 plus 16 minutes or plus, 14 minutes of whatever. Now that we're at 16 minutes, 49 seconds. All right, so I'm going to wish you all a good night. I love you all. Peace.